Welcome back. Okay, so news of the day, and obviously this is the big news at the top is that Vigneault has been fired by the Philadelphia Flyers, as has Michel Therrien. So that's two guys who are going to be available if the coaching carousel is to continue. And this was rumored to be part of the reason why the Vancouver Canucks made the move they did last night, because they believed that Philadelphia was going to be in on Bruce Boudreau. They wanted to make that move first before Philadelphia had the chance. I will say, too, I've been getting a kick out of all the comments about, well, he won't get you a Stanley Cup. Look, the team's 8-15-2. They need to stop the bleeding. I don't think that anybody on a sinking ship is going to say, well, yeah, that'll stop the sinking, but it's not going to get us to shore. You just want to stop the sinking right now if you're the Canucks. So I would be glad to see a coach that can stop that. But yeah, Mike Yeo will be the interim coach for the Philadelphia Flyers while they continue their search for a full-time replacement for Vigneault. And so we'll see how long that takes. But an 8-game losing streak, not being able to put the puck in the net. And the funny thing is, too, with Vigneault, I've seen a lot of the same complaints people use, like his choice of players, and, well, why is he playing this guy over that guy, and these lines are wrong. And it's the same thing I heard with Ranger fans, with Canuck fans, when it was towards the end of his time there. So Vigneault will get paid for the next 2.5 years. He had a very rich contract he signed in 2019, which runs till 2024. And the Flyers are still on the hook for that. So it is an expensive move they made today as well. Interesting news out of Boston. So Ullmark not feeling well. So Rask is at practice. He's the emergency backup goaltender. There seems to be some confusion about this as well. He's an unrestricted free agent, so he can still sign with Boston anytime between now and the trade deadline and be one of their goaltenders. And he doesn't have to pass through waivers. He's an unrestricted free agent. Now, the exception would be if Tuukka Rask had signed and played in Europe, and then he signed to come over and play for Boston, then he'd have to clear waivers before coming in. But for Rask, yeah, he's emergency backup goaltender. So some of the comments I've seen about that this morning, pretty humorous, along the lines of, so some teams have a 40-year-old accountant, and the Bruins have Tuukka Rask as their emergency backup goalie. So yeah, we'll see, right, if Ullmark's feeling better. And again, I know people are going to say, well, it's cap circumvention. I think it would be funny if he actually was dressed as the backup for just one game. I think the internet would probably have some form of a meltdown over that. So yeah, it'd be kind of funny. Speaking of meltdowns, though, Dallas has a problem. The problem is Ben Bishop is getting close. They'll be sending him to the American Hockey League to play for Texas on a conditioning stint. So he's close enough that he's going down for a conditioning stint this week, meaning that Ottinger likely ends up getting sent down. So it will probably be Holtby and Bishop, and then Hudobin would be out there. But Ottinger doesn't have to clear waivers, so he would end up in the AHL, which is probably why he started the season in the AHL. He played well enough last year to show that he should be an NHL goaltender. He's shown that this year, too. He's got a really good record, but you can't waive Bishop. You can't waive Holtby. You're not going to keep them on waivers, and so Ottinger's the easy answer. Because while the idea of maybe you do waive Holtby and you lose him somewhere else, the problem is then if Bishop gets hurt again, now you've got a goaltending problem in Dallas. So because Bishop does tend to get injured, you want to make sure that you've got that backup plan, and Ottinger becomes that backup plan, right? So there's some hearings going on today. There's one that we know is today, and there's a hearing for Pionk for the kneeing on Sandin, which Leaf fans were very upset that I didn't talk about last night. I didn't see it. That's the funny thing, when you're switching between games. I didn't see the incident in question, and again, I saw the after effects. Now, the after effects, in part, are Spezza being offered an in-person hearing for kneeing on Pionk. So, Sandin, there's no word yet on how long Sandin might be out. I like Rasmus Sandin. So it's interesting to see some of the comments. And I've already been told I hate the Jets. So it's not like I'm not talking about things because I hate the Jets. And of course, when Oliver Ekman-Larsson took the slew foot from Marchand, I didn't mention that in the review that night either. So weird, right? But yeah, so Simmons has also been fined $2,250 for cross check on Jensen Harkins. That whole thing got out of control. Is it on the refs? Absolutely. But if a team decides, all right, well, we're gonna have to go mercenary with this, yeah, that's not really the best look. And you've got to be careful with that. So the reason that it'd be an in-person hearing for Spezza is because it definitely looks premeditated then, right? So the Pionk kneeing on Sandin, likely to be a couple of games. If Spezza's being offered an in-person hearing, it's a longer-term suspension. And Spezza's been an excellent forward for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They will miss him, especially if Marner ends up being out longer than expected. It was an ugly game last night. I know people talk about message sending and well, you have to show that you're not going to be pushed around and all this, but it's a team you only play twice the entire year. You're not going to see them again for a while, and it doesn't uninjure Sandin either. So, I mean, I've never been a big fan of all that, and I know there have been times where it's happened with Vancouver. I remember Gino Odjick well. There's a reason he's still very popular, and there were times where he'd lose it. And I mean, while I understood it at the time, it's I don't know, it's this weird thing in hockey where you end up then being penalized a lot and your team ends up shorthanded and you might end up losing the game, which Toronto did. But yeah, so it's an ugly incident. They're not division rivals. They don't meet again until I've still got it on the board, March 31st. So they don't meet again until March 31st. So yeah, I guess, Simmons pays the fine. Spets will be out for a while. We know Sandin's going to be out for a while. They don't have Marner. It just, yeah. Hopefully with Sandin, it's not as bad as it looked when he was leaving the ice. I saw Sandin leaving the ice. I saw that he was hurt. And then I went back to the other game. So, just one of those things. But yeah, so hopefully Sandin's injury is not too bad. And we'll see. Because again, immediately then the response is that person's a really dirty player and this person's a really dirty player. Watching as many games as I do, there aren't really that many players in the league that are dirty players that are out there trying to hurt people regularly, and I'm glad for that because there was a time when that wasn't the case. There was a time in the NHL where you could tell that there were players who wanted to injure people, and they were trying to do that. So when I see kneeing incidents, which are getting worse, there's definitely been a problem with kneeing in the NHL. The same with slew foot incidents. And when I see that, I think, it's a league that's getting faster, and with defensemen, they may be having a hard time keeping up with some of this. And so, yeah, hopefully we do see them cracking down more on this than they have been. So I'll agree with people there. Interesting news. Ryan Kennedy's reporting that he's heard through sources that the Canucks might be really interested in Mark Bergevin as general manager. It's one of those things. I mean, I did a video, 3 or 4 years ago with Bergevin as GM arguing should he remain the general manager of Montreal. I think with Vancouver, I think they need. I mean, having somebody with experience is important. I agree with the situation the Canucks are in. That's why I agree with Boudreau being hired as coach, because you need somebody who's gonna show the players you guys can stick around here and have some faith in the organization, and we're bringing in a players coach. But Bergevin, I'm not sold on. So we'll see. We'll see if Vancouver brings him in or not. It's one of those things that I think, sometimes you get your hopes up and then so we'll see. We'll see what they do. And again, hopefully there's a lot of people. Hopefully they don't rush to fill the job. That's the thing. I do hope they don't rush to fill the job. Yeah, you can be interested in Bergevin, but be interested in a few others as well, and make the right choice, not the quick one. So, going to Montreal now. Tyler Toffoli's going to be evaluated for an upper body injury. That doesn't sound like a day-to-day kind of injury, but we'll see. The evaluation will likely give him a better idea of how long he'll be out for Montreal, right? So yeah, hopefully that's not a long-term injury either. Robin Lehner, making a statement. And first, he reached out to the Swedish team and said, "I will not be accepting an invitation to the Olympics." The reason he's citing, and I know we can give a million reasons to cite, but the reason he's citing is mental health reasons. So the stress of going over wearing your country's colors and all of that has been documented. Not through hockey players, but it's been documented in the last Olympics, where there were definitely Olympians that were like, "This pressure is ridiculous," and it can be tough. It can be tough to perform on that stage. So Robin Lehner, who has talked about his mental health issues, he's been very open about them, is saying this wouldn't be good for me. This would be a bad thing for me. And so he's opting out. So I respect his decision. I respect his decision to do so. The interesting thing would be, I mean, Carey Price has been rumored to be the pick for Team Canada's goaltender. I don't think that's going to be the case now. And if they did pick him, maybe Price would say the same thing. He'd say, "I'm trying to get myself right." Maybe, right? So we'll see. But Lehner will not go over to the Olympics. We'll keep our eyes open for other players saying the same. Might be for other reasons. Sasha Barkov, who's been out for the Florida Panthers for a little bit here. They've done well without him, but they'll be glad to have him back, and it looks like he's ahead of schedule. It was reported as week to week, which normally means about a month, but it looks like he may be ready to play tomorrow. He's on the top line at practice today, and so he may be back for tomorrow's game, maybe Friday's game at the latest. Those are the next two games Florida has. And Anthony Duclair may be ready to return as well. So those are two more good, skilled forwards for the Florida Panthers coming into a lineup that's been playing pretty well without them. So that's bad news for the rest of that division, the rest of that conference. We'll see how things go. But that's it for your news of the day for today. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Always appreciate the comments about how slanted everything is because of what I do or don't discuss in the reviews. But I've discussed that. I already did a video on the reviews, now I put them together and all that. And I know that most fans understand, well, you can't watch absolutely everything. There are some, though, that will say, absolutely, he has to, and he has to do this and this and this. I do my best. Thank you guys so much for your support all along the way. 225,000 seems like a lot of people. It is. So from a very snowy day in Abbotsford, thank you guys for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.